So this is going to be a quick little video explaining small box games release Bronze Age. Now, obviously, depending on when you're watching this video, we have a few little questionable things going on right now. So this was released as a print and play, and that's what I have. So it's sleeved up. That's why the cards are square. We'll go from there. Really nice. I want to mention that the rules are literally only the front and some examples of the actions on the back. So this is actually a very simple two-player only game that is sort of about optimization and taking options a little more intelligently sometimes than your opponent. So you have the stack, you have the sea, the plains, the mountains. Those decks are shuffled up, ready to go. Each player is going to have a hand of these three cards. You have your sea action card, mountain action card, plains action card, and then each player will be dealt one from each of these piles. So what players are going to do then, also following setup, I'm going to try to slide these slightly to the top of the shot. Players literally only have one action that they get per turn. In that, we have some endgame scoring cards. I'll go through those when we get to the end of it. Each player will get one of these basic civilizations. You can see they're exactly the same. Put that there. Start player card, just to kind of say whose turn it is. And this is, no simultaneous play, just simple one or the other. And then you have this nice, cool little stack of advanced civilization cards. You'll see that some of these are the same one, just left and right. And for the most part, each of these is actually unique. So you can see, even though they both have the urn, they are not the same ability. So in your first game, you would assign these randomly, and then maybe if you want to, you could draft them off. Let's say I take this one, I put this right here, just like that. Now, from my hand, I'll just be start player, leave that kind of right there, no big deal. I have my starting hand of 6. I would take and play one of these cards. Now, one of these cards, they all essentially do the same thing, just with different targets. Let's bring this one up in the frame for a second. I can play this card from my hand to a deck with 2 or fewer action cards on it. If played to the plains, which would be right here, obviously matching art, very clean matching art, I get to move the top card of that deck as a territory, draw a card from that deck to my hand, and then play a card. If I don't play it to the plains, I draw 2 cards or play 1 card. So, in the beginning, I have 3 piles very clear. I'm going to play it, and leave that sit right there. I would take one of these, make it as a territory. I literally just take it, leaving it on its back orientation, put it there. I would draw a card, move these out of the way. I can then play these. Now, all of these have a basic civilization, and you'll notice the sea has exploration. Prosperity comes from the plains. Society comes from mountains. I'm not really sure why that was, but, colors and everything aside. So I could take one of those and put it underneath my card here. Now, normally you would kind of if you have the table space, kind of stack them like that and, column them up. But if you need to, you can stack them underneath. Or option 2, if the advanced side of the card has either of these icons, I can play it under there. If it doesn't, so for example, leave that right in frame. Let's look at the advanced. Warfare, not mine. Warfare, not mine. Slides out. Development, that one is mine. Warfare, not mine. So if my options are to play these basic sides or to play the single one right here. Now, I still only play 1 card. I still resolve exactly what this says, which is to play 1 card. If I play a matching card to this side, I will resolve that action. So let's just say I do that. I put it here. Then it says, play a card from your hand for its exploration or its prosperity. Okay, so it basically lets me get 2 cards on the board. So let's say I do the prosperity action. I take that, I put that under here. Now, this will trigger this. Draw 1 card for each of the laurels. Obviously, those things there, if you remember the whole Crown of Caesar thing. I would then draw 2 cards for this one specifically. I'm like, you know what? I'll take 2 mountains. Put them in my hand. That's my turn. Pass over to my opponent. It comes back to me. Let's just say they played here. So you can see mine's still in my hand. Now, I have the option. When these things get played, they get flipped from play, which is in your hand, to the return action, trying to affect the glare. If you have 2 or fewer action cards in my hand, which I do, I could return this to my hand and then take this and take these actions. Notice it's choice 1 followed by choice 2. So this is a double play, sort of like this one is. So let's just say I take this one back to my hand. Let's see what the return actions say. Draw 1 card from that deck. In case this was at a different deck, that's why it's phrased this way, because you can play 2 opposing decks. I can choose to either take 1 card from that deck or play 1 card from my hand. Well, you know what? I actually want to... I'm going to take a card from the deck. We'll make it interesting. All right, so it's Society and Warfare, which is of no use to me. Then my second shot is basically I could do the same exact thing again. Well, I want to start getting some of these cards in my hand, because these Society ones, they don't give me any action, but they're worth points. So I want to start scoring up points. Goes over my opponent. Let's say they play to the plains. They resolve their stuff. It comes back to me. I'm like, all right, I cannot return one of these because I have 3 in my hand, so I must play one of these. Now, play this card on a deck with 2 or fewer actions. So I could play this here as the third one, which will be the final for this stack, or I can play it and get its appropriate abilities. Let's say I play it here. I would take this, add it there, draw 1 card in my hand, and now I can play one onto my Society. There's Artistry, not one of my abilities, doesn't happen. Now, let's look at what my other ability is. If I played Agriculture, and I'll just find them, the advanced ones are not specific to any given deck. The basics are. So boom, I get Agriculture. I would, say play that, trigger that off. Draw 1 card, play 1 card from your hand to your territories. Now, this is like a little bit of a keyword thing. This is probably the only part that might confuse people. Territories are when the backs of the cards are here. So I could take my hand and go, okay, I'm going to flip that over right there, add to my territories. Why does all this matter? At the end of the start player's turn, if any of these decks is empty, players will look at their territories, pick 1 type to keep, discard the rest, shuffle up the rest, say we shuffle these up, blah, blah, blah. Then they would be dealt back out into 3 more piles. Then when one of these stacks runs out, we go to end of game scoring. At the end of the game, you look at your set of territories. Let's just say I have something like that. You pick 1. I would normally pick these. You get 2 points for each. Okay. And then you go to the scoring on these cards. Now, normally you'd have a much bigger stack. So here it says I get 1 for each of, the little houses. So I get 3 points for this card alone. And I get 1 for each of the, the grains, and score on up. On this hand, the only one that scores points are the Society ones. Well, then you go, well, why would I keep playing to these? 1, you would get the abilities. So for this one, you get the Explore, which will get you extra locations. So that'd be territories. You grab 1, flip them right over. And then here, you would be able to draw more cards, keep more options in your hand for those more advanced abilities. Then, as I said, we come back to this. At the end of the game, whoever has the most of each of the basic symbols gets these. Now, you'll notice these are not all the same. This one's worth 3, this one's worth 4, this one's worth 6. So, if you want to start going for extra points, I've played a few games. These do actually make a big difference, especially that one. That one sneaks in there. 6 points is definitely a bit of a shift. So it's just a game of, it's a little bit min-max, try to find a big play. But at the same time, you can play this very quickly. The abilities on these advanced cards, let me bring them back up. There are ones like the other player chooses one of the territories and gives it to your hand. This is letting you do a different play. You can see that this one just has 2 different symbols. Discard one of your territories, play the top card of a deck to your civilization. They're little minor abilities. For a game that is, you're not really aggressing on the other person. You might grief them a little bit. You take one of their cards. Maybe you get slightly higher point total. This overall is a non-offensive game. It has some really cool interactions. It is, if you've played another game called The North, it has that combo system where you're trying to get, like here would let me get, 2 plays or something like that. But then if one of those plays triggers either of these, I then resolve that as well. So I just get a few extra, little points here and there. This is just a game of points. I'm not trying to lower anyone's life total. I'm not trying to destroy their entire land, break their spirit, conquer, their grandparents, territory or anything like that. It's just a game of grabbing points. I like it a lot. I like how simple it is. It plays very quickly when you get in the swing of things, when you realize that these cards really do essentially the same thing. Now, you'd be like, well, why, if they do the same thing, why would they not just be the same card 3 times? It's for after the collapse. The collapse is the first time one of these things end and we shuffle, we move into the end game. Because you'll see that when you move some of these aside, in certain games, you might only have 2 territories. 2 territory types. Like let's say the plains and the sea because the mountain ran out. That means your mountain card, when you are on this play side, would not be able to use the top ability, which is the more efficient one. You'd switch over to that. So some of these subtleties come out in the mid to late game. Some of them are much more obvious. And the fact that you can play where either these are randomly assigned or drafted, yeah, it's something. I very much like how simple the rule set is, being only one side of only one sheet of rules. I like that there is some back and forth, there is some crafty plays, and I also like that, it's a game that to remember the rules takes literally rereading the rules. And the art, whether you like this art or not, I can just say my opinion. I like it. I understand it kind of looks like that clip art sort of feel. It's very basic. But if you look at, some old art on, say, say Grecian or Roman urns or stuff like that, any of those, it has a very distinct, stark, you're looking at color plus white or white on color. It's very simple to identify. It's colorblind friendly. I have a colorblind father, so that is something. You between the different colors, and you'll notice purples and greens don't get confused. Reds and greens sometimes get confused for colorblind people, but they don't cause anything with how big. I mean, look at how big those icons are on these cards. And these things are even split. They're very clear to tell what they are. The scoring icons are smaller, but they're just repeats of those. There's no abilities that trigger across the board. I don't have, a laurel that's like, oh, count the number of your mountain symbols. The closest one is just this one here for, development or whatever. So that's a real quick run of rules. Obviously, I stated my opinion there that I think that this is a very clean, simple game that still has some depths. And if you're interested, go to smallboxgames.com. I'll put the link in there. The print and play is very, very affordable. If you want this done, I'll give the shout out to the ones near me, Office Depot or Staples. This is 110 cardstock, straight cut. No problems whatsoever. Very easy to do grid if you have a guillotine paper cutter. If not, even with a pair of scissors. This is only 66 cards. This is nothing. This is absolutely an easy job to do. It's very fun to do if you like doing sleeve. I prefer sleeves personally, but even at 110 cardstock, I'll take this out. They're very sturdy, and you don't have to shuffle them up or manhandle them that much. So that's Bronze Age. This one caught me completely off guard. I didn't think this was going to be the one that was probably my favorite of the 3 new releases for 2020 in quarter one. But absolutely, this game's going to stick with me for a while. It's a great take-along game. It's great for parents like myself. If you've had a very long day and need to wind down, this is a good game. So we'll talk to you next time.